Laying in your bed, fighting ghosts in my head. Wish that I could let you go. Remember all we had. How could we get this bad? Where did we lose our glow? You live, you learn. When your heart is set to burn, fading away until the light will return. Someone bring me back to the time when our hearts unite. Bring me back to the time when our hearts unite. Laying in your bed, fighting ghosts in my head. Wish that I could let you go. Remember all we had. How could we get this bad? Where did we lose our glow? You live, you learn. When your heart is set to burn, fading away until the light will return. Someone bring me back to the time when our hearts unite. Bring me back to the time when our hearts unite. Bring me back to the time when our hearts unite.
Hello and welcome then, champions, to this week's ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup. This is of course the September finals. My name is Hyres Vox, and well, got some very excited games going down for you today. I can't wait to take you into the action. Before we do begin, please do remember that this is the September finals. This is the 8-team invite-only bracket. We'll get to that in just a second. There is cash pricing on the line for the ESL Go4Paladins Cup monthly finals, 500 euros up for grabs total between these teams. They'll be duking it out to see which ones come up on top. Now, a couple of questions which I have seen scrolling by in chat, which I will just come to in a second, have been notified and, well, noticed as well. We do have the PPL starting tomorrow, folks. That is not today. The patch preview is today, and that is going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you check it out. Stay tuned for that. It's in about 5 hours from now. It's going to be great. I'm sure you've already seen some spoils from the one, the only Thomas Holt on Twitter. But otherwise, the PPL does begin tomorrow. The Paladins Premier League games kick off at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You can chuck that into Google if you want to do your own conversions. They're going to be a sight and a spectacle to remember, so make sure you definitely do tune into that on facebook.com/paladinsgame/live. But for the time being, this is the Go4 Cup, and we have 8 teams set for today to get involved and have a piece at that prize pool pie. Of course, these teams are actually going to be only 6 this month, because we did have 2 PPL teams in the top 8 who did receive invites, but have since dropped out of the competition voluntarily. Moving forward as well, no PPL teams will be competing in the Go4 Cup, so if you're looking for an open bracket style tournament within the European region, without the risk of getting stomped by some of the best, then, well, maybe check out the sign-up link, which is right down here. Anyway, regardless, the 6 teams which we have got competing today are Chrono Break, Straight Out of Casuals, Royal Blue Esports Paladins, B5, Blazing Hussars, and Gangstars Paladins. Now, all of these are teams with veteran rosters, players, and members which you will recognize the names of. Will be kicking broadcast off in the semi-finals today. 2 sets did have a bye, Chrono Break and Gangstars receiving 1 each. And Straight Outta Casuals did take a victory over Royal Blue Esports Paladins, and likewise B5 over Blazing Hussars. And that does take us to the first matchup which we'll be watching today, which is going to be on your screens right now. And you can see that there. It is Straight Out of Casuals versus Chrono Break. And champions, one thing which I am very excited to bring you the news of today is that, well, ESL Go4Paladins, hashtag this short break no more. We're going straight through to the map draft, folks. That is on your screen right now. The map draft has come through. We can see that Frozen Guard and Jaguar Falls have been taken off the table. And Stonekeep is actually the location for the very first game of the day. And I'm also thrilled, folks. Please do bear with me behind the scenes as I'm running this entire ship solo. We are bringing you some new and improved champion drafting. Without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. The first set, the upper side semi-finals of this month's September finals for the ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup. Well, they begin right about now. draft momentarily. Apologies for any delay. On Stone Keep, the game is kicking off. Let's get right into it, champions. And let's go in, well, just a moment. And we are back. Apologies for that brief delay, champions. Once again, straight out of casuals on the left-hand side of your screen, Chrono Break on the right. We've already broken down the champion picks, but as far as legendaries goes, well, for straight out of casuals, it's Diced Apples with Spirit's Chosen Maldamba, Aerial Assault Ruckus for King D Devil, Desert Shadow Charlene for Frog Blender, Megiddo on Direct Current Torvald, and Air Salino on Accelerant Bomb King. It's Ryan then for Chrono Break, or excuse me, let's check that in just a second. Yes, Chrono Break, Treacherous Ground, Nara, Musics with Battering Ram, Ash, Michaela on Combustible Drogos, Goldex, Celestial Touch, Janos, and Sizzy, Exaction Cassie. Starting things off, Diced Apples sitting on the back of this fight. You can see the Ruckus going in relatively heavily so far. King D Devil trying to look for some peek around the peripheral, making sure they utilize Aerial Assault. Battering Ram channeled by Ash, no real way through, and King D Devil will take to the high ground, or at least try to with that Aerial Assault, missing that jump to try and dish out some damage. Now is able to escape, pop their emitter. First blood, though, comes through to Frog Blender so far. To pick one up with Shaolin. Look for a planted following that Impaler arrow, but nothing actually picked up. Last shot blocked by Diced Apples, who drops the low ground. A continual poke coming through from all players of this team. Esselino throws out the Grumpy Bomb, lands a stun onto It's Ryan, and you see them blown up and detonated immediately. Frontliner down for Chrono Break. It's a good look for straight out of casuals here. Music's forced a battering ram out of there as well, just able to survive. Down, of course, does go Esselino to Cassie's incoming fire, but it's 66% and rising for straight out of casuals over Chrono Break so far. Straight out of casuals will be withdrawing now. They've got to be careful here that they don't get overtaken as Inara comes to the high ground and immediately shuts down Frog Blender. Nice positioning play from It's Ryan there, but so far, straight out of casuals holding the advantage throughout all this fight. Coming back into it on the objective, Goldex needs to be careful. Celestial Touch thrown out, and the frontline is alive. This is the opportunity for Chrono Break to get some zone in play and start working on keeping their team in the mix. They're rapidly beginning to equalize capture here. The combustible fire spit should do some work at breaking up straight out of casuals, and they've taken way too much incoming damage. Chrono Break have them on a wire. Dragon Punch's channel. Frog Blender finds them immediately, even in their withdrawal stealth, takes that ultimate to the face and falls. Esselino, 850 damage from a rocket mid-air as well. Through time and space, channel by Janos, not finding anything. Out comes the Dread Serpent from Aldamba, and even with that early takedown onto the Shaolin, so far, it is all about straight out of casuals, as out comes the Hyper Beam as well. Trying to contest was Michaela on Drogoz. Trying to get there now will be It's Ryan on Inara, but a great comeback from straight out of casuals allows them to get the capture here. Esselino takes control of the high ground as King D Devil begins to push out. Let's go ahead and check out as well. Megito is playing this Torvald, currently recharging. With their recent change to the weapon fire, they've been doing some serious work, and I'm interested to see roughly where they'll fit on the damage charts right now. We can see that Torvald actually in the top 50% of players right now, only doing 20 damage versus the battering ram Ash, but now the Nullify comes out as well. Torvald shutting down with a silence the Inara, completely allowing Bomb King to pick up 2 kills, quick succession. Now sitting on King Bomb, Esselino has the opportunity here to really turn the tide of battle. Now, it's not a field study Torvald. We saw it was a direct current Torvald, so we're not going to see that big increase of damage in King Bomb that Esselino might elect to run, but the bubble will still potentially save them. The protection will save them if something comes through, and oh, catching as well. The end of Shoulder Bash, really good play from Torvald right there. And so far, even though we're seeing a retreat from the players out of straight out of casuals, up to the high ground, or down from the high ground comes Frog Blender. They're beginning to advance once again. King D Devil takes that one. Looks for Drogoz on the high ground, doesn't have a emitter available. No missiles either, and they do end up falling. It's Ryan, nullified briefly, now back in the thick of things, now back in the fight, boxing out with Megito. Brawling, I should say, as they're forcing out opponents. Is gonna get hit by the Grumpy Bomb. Earthen Guard save them from a little bit of damage, and so far so good for Chrono Break. 1 minute and 2 seconds left on this payload push. They are able to hold on for the time being. The question arises as to whether this will continue. Hyper Beam already used during the capture phase of this first game. Straight out of casuals now have 5 ultimates back online already. Megito's actually lining up to really look to try and engage here. Your sight fails, use does say Shaolin, and they do get hit by Goldex with through time and space on the high ground, revealed by Cassie's scout. They didn't withdraw fast enough to be able to get out of the situation, and it's a complete cleanup for Chrono Break as in rolls Cassie looking for damage onto Bomb King. Can they find the shot? Esselino goes down. Good counter initiation from Chrono Break, nullifying straight out of casuals, but it was at the cost of, what was that? Scout as well as through time and space. 2 ultimates down, just for the one which was used to bait them both out. The Heat Haze from Shaolin. I think that straight out of casuals are potentially screaming worth here, as with 10 seconds remaining, they look to re-engage once again. Esselino to the back of the map, engages with Poppy, whiffs that one, but they're the only one who can currently close the gap towards the payload. They're trying to get damage onto the high ground here, but nobody's actually stepped there, potentially going to give this one up. No, overtime is ticking, and Torvald looks for a Hyper Beam, tries to throw enemies off the map. Megito gets a double kill with that easy 2 in a row. In comes Cassie, trying to sit down, trying to stall this payload out, but Dread Serpent comes through from Aldamba. Straight out of casuals, get the kill on the Goldex, push successfully, good zone from the support ultimate, up 2-0 in 5 minutes and 50 seconds. And now we see the itemization starting to come online between these two teams. It is a double offensive item lineup for straight out of casuals. Chrono Break have matched that. If you look at the net worth chart on your screen now, everybody's over the all-important 900 credit mark. But what's perhaps more indicative of why straight out of casuals may be able to snowball at this point is the fact that there is only one Cauterize that has been picked up by that team. Sizzy now going into a Cauterize 1 after an early Chronos. But Music's, despite the fact that Ash has AoE weapon shots, they're the only player that can apply Cauterize 2 across their team. Now that is a pretty devastating remark as we get into this second phase of the first game here. Bomb King saying boom boom, looks the damage. Drogo's channels, Dragon Punch goes to the high ground, trying to find damage on a King D Devil, but Aerial Assault keeps them nimble and King D Devil stays alive. Now relocating to drop the damage straight towards that backline. Drogo's Cassie will force them out of the fight momentarily, while Dumble will do a good job at keeping them alive. Does take Cauterize actually from the Ashe, needs to stay out of the range of that momentarily just to heal back up to full. But now the zone comes through from It's Ryan. They look to completely shut down Michaela. They've been crippled momentarily or raised up in the air by Janos. Unable to find the full kill there onto Drogoz. They look to re-engage. The high ground, Bomb King is sitting here. Cassie activates Scout, but Frog Blender shuts them down immediately. No, this is bad for Chrono Break. Now there's a Charlene with Heat Haze on the table who has no counter to them as Scout has just been used. But it's not even going to be necessary. Straight out of casuals, they capture. No contest this time around. And we're really seeing the difference here between that offensive itemization split. The one Cauterize 2 for Chrono Break isn't enough to shut down all the healing coming out of straight out of casuals. But although we're seeing Chrono Break match that now, it's a Celestial Touch Genos. We expect that to exceed Maldamba early game. And with that in mind, I mean, the Maldamba is keeping up very, very well here. Straight out of casuals, looking to the high ground. Nice protection coming through from Torvald. Make sure the Fire Spit doesn't deal any damage. The Frog Blender, they're able to hold their angle here for the time being, and Torvald able to throw out these projectile shots, just locking off the angle of entry here as Frog Blender continues to follow up. A lot of headshots coming through from King D Devil, unable to block the battering ram. Ashe does get out of dodge momentarily. Frog Blender shuts them down on the follow-up, and the payload keeps on moving. Dropping down, double kill for the Frog here. Looking for a triple potentially as Impaler Arrow is poised, knocked back. They've got to be careful here as well as Dragon Punch is channeled. Give your king a big hug, says Arcelino, and Megiddo takes Michaela down in the air in that ultimate Dragon Punch nullified. Torvald throws everyone away straight out of casuals. Well, they claim victory in game number 1. That's a 4-0 sweep, folks. Complete and utter devastation. As we go ahead and take a look at the scoreboard here, you can see that on your screen, well, a pretty one-sided game. Highest damage that game, of course, was going to the side of Michaela. Combustible Drogo's doing a lot of work, but with a slash line like 12, 3, and 6, players like Frog Blender just having way more of an impact than I think that really anybody could deal with simply on the side of a Chrono Break. Straight out of casuals, they're looking better than good here. They were looking coordinated, they were looking smooth, and they showed no sign of slowing down as the game went on. A couple of interesting pointers to take out of that as well. The healing between these two teams very, very close. So although we made the observation of that Cauterize split earlier, it's a lot closer than we maybe would have otherwise recognized. So the Ashe with the AoE Cauterize application still doing a good job, but one thing that does really stand out here is that Music's damage as Ashe is only 28,000. Now, Ashe is a very aggressive frontline champion. They're somebody who wants to be in the opposing backline. They're somebody who wants to get in up in your face, peel damage or peel support away from a fight, and really unable to do that throughout the entire duration of that game. It seemed like Music's just wasn't having an impact, and this is bizarre because, well, Music's for the squad of Chrono Break, they're a team, or they're a player at least, which has demonstrated great proficiency on this champion in both ranked and casual games and also during our competitive gameplay alike. So it would be nice to maybe see them pulling something different out of the hat here and going for maybe a slightly different champion to fit what the team needs if that is necessary. Regardless though, champions, that was just game 1. Game 2 is yet to begin, and there are more opportunities in this best of 5 set for straight out of casuals to either take it in a sweep or for Chrono Break to pull themselves back into it. You can see that on your screen right now. The map draft is here. Gone is Stone Keep, and now we're off to the sunny shores of Frog Isles. This will certainly be an interesting game as the champion draft is almost ready for us. I mean, I wonder if we're going to see any major shift arounds in the champion draft. We know what worked earlier, and well, we know what potentially didn't, as straight out of casuals did take that last game very, very easily. But now moving into game 2, Frog Isle, it does have some open line of sight. There is the opportunity or maybe a more sniper-style champion to come out. And the popular one on Frog Isle for a long time now has been Grover. It'll be interesting to see if that will be the one to grace us, or maybe we'll see a Strix, maybe we'll see a Kinessa. The Grover just seems to bring a little bit more value, which is what many teams would consider. Regardless, as we've said, the champion draft will be ready momentarily, folks. Let's go ahead and check out exactly champions these teams will be bringing to the realm in just a second. Back to our map draft momentarily whilst we get those sorted. Game does begin. Chrono break. Let's check out their legendary choices this time around. Goldex, of course, still running the Genos. Celestial Touch is their legendary Sizzy on Exaction Cassie. Michaela, they have Wormjet Strokers this time. Musix on Direct Current. For the Torvald, still going for the extra damage on Nullify and battering ram Ash for its Ryan. The other side of things, straight out of casuals. They're rocking out with Spirits Chosen right here on Diced Apple's Mild Dumber. Frog Blender with Frosty Grover. The legendary of choice for most players now. King D Devil with Pluck Makoa. Esselino, Accelerant Bomb King, and Megiddo with Aerial Assault Ruckus. Initial itemization coming through between both teams. a lot more of an even split in terms of cauterize this time. I do like it. Sizzy, again, the Cassie still running with Kronos as a first pick, and we'll have to debate on how effective that's going to be. And in fact, let's tune in with this Cassie as they look to start things off. Going around for a peripheral flank, trying to stay out the line of Grover. Does see Makoa coming through. Oh, narrow miss dredge anchor from King D Devil. That could have been devastating there if it did come through, but alas, nothing really achieved. And still, we do see the fact that Cassie has been able to stay alive. Michaela dropping out some early damage. Initial damage charts are heavily favoring the blue team right now, as even Torvald is keeping up with Cassie and Drogos. Have to see how long that lasts. And straight out of Casuals, not really able to get much pressure on the objective so far. Nice dredge anchor converted by Frog Blender. Picks up first blood onto Sizzy's Cassie though, and that overextension, maybe that gutsy play which was going around on the peripheral map, has started to bite them. Progress holding for the time being. It's right in a lot of trouble here. Doesn't get any brawl healing off. Likely not in their loadout. It's just a good look for straight out of Casuals here so far, as Chrono Break for the second time in a row are starting to have members drop by like flies. We do appear to have a pause coming through from Michaela. So we mentioned a little bit earlier, no brawl healing coming through from Ash. Let's go ahead and take out a look at the loadouts and see if It's Ryan is actually running that. And no, it's Gatecrasher 4, Ramparts 1, Heavy Metal 2, Percussion 2, and Vanguard 2, which they are 3, which they are running, excuse me. You can see right there, Vanguard going to be providing them 24% damage reduction for 2 seconds after using Shoulder Bash. It's a really nice pairing with the legendary Battering Ram, and hopefully we'll see that put to good use a little bit later in the round. So far as well, on the other side of things, loadouts all look relatively standard from the side of Chrono Break here. And from the side of Straight Outta Casuals, again, relatively standard. Similarly, we do see the Ruckus loadout has changed a lot in recent weeks, seeing less of the hyper-mobile area assault playstyle, more of the fragging out style Ruckus, although still sticking with, of course, rather than going over to Overdrive or something, the aerial assault legendary. Loadout we're having coming through here is Metal March 3, and this is the card which is really interesting to me. Gaining 15% damage reduction for 3 seconds after activating Missile Launcher. There's a lot of direct and AoE damage coming through from the team of Chrono Break, and having damage reduction built in effectively to the kit of this Ruckus is going to make it very, very valuable, as we can potentially see them immediately mitigate 15% of that, rather than having to choose between going, oh, do I go Haven, and do I get a Haven 2 online to mitigate 14%, or Blast Shields. Super effective moving through the rest of that loadout. Warden 2 does come into play. Air-cooled 1, activating Advanced heals you for 50. A bit of a level 1 bit card really there. Nanotech 2 and Refraction 4, but the game has resumed. King D Devil in a lot of trouble, gets evaporated by Goldex right at the end, and Michaela potentially coming back into this fight is going to look for some damage towards Diced Apples on point. Does get quite a lot off there, but Bomb King is forcing them out. Protection from Torvald will buy some time momentarily. Straight out of Casuals, gaining 90% on the objective so far, in a good position to go for capture if they can break down a couple of members of Chrono Break, but Chrono Break are actually holding on here relatively well. Salino looks for poke damage. Megiddo tries to find some long-range chip with their Ruckus miniguns. Dragon Punch, though, is being charged by Michaela, pushing through towards the backline, maybe looking for some damage on the Grover. Protected by Torvald at the second there. All it did was buy a bit of time and space. Didn't really appear to actually do much for the team. Through time and space as well. Whiffed by Goldex. Questionable use of ultimates here, as nothing is really coming out of them. Capture, though, from Chrono Break is looking to equalize towards Straight Outta Casuals. It is at 63% currently, but they have backed off. Straight Outta Casuals able to lock down the angles now as well with Grover, and with their ultimate starting to come online. Engagement does come through from Dread Serpent. Swiftly afterwards and swiftly following Whirlwind to keep everybody alive from Frog Blender. Hexafire on the objective from Magito. It's Ryan eats a face full of that and does get shut down. Oh, nice Vine as well comes through. Good Snake Toss stun as well on the Musics. Makes sure that Hyper Beam doesn't pick up the kills that it potentially should do. Salino gets the Blossom heal as well. Mid-roll on their ultimate. King Bomb gets a shutdown kill into Michaela. Overtime ticks through. Straight Outta Casuals, well, they've got capture number 1 of this game, as they did last time, 1-0. It's a lot less one-sided this time around, though. I think that's one observation which we certainly can make. We're not seeing quite the same devastating play as we did last time, but maybe that'll change as towards conversion they go. King D Devil narrowly missing the Dredge Anchor there, as Battering Ram was procced, of course, by Ash, making her CC immune and unable to be pulled, so a bit of a narrow escape there. It's Ryan valuing their life. Dredge Anchor this time again does pull them through. Protection from Torvald keeping Ash safe. Likely going to have to go back into base here, and the payload push just continues. I love the fact that all the while we've got this Maldamba, played by Diced Apples, sitting on the objective. able to help escort that forwards. Sharing some bonus credits with Grover as well, who currently is happy to stack those up on their own, getting some long-range poke damage off towards Torvald, or through time and space channeled, and fired to completely no avail. May have been better saved to try and shut down a Ruckus ultimate. And Dragon Punch comes through as well. Michaela looks the damage, does find onto Megiddo, a very narrow survival rate there from Dragon Punch. They did go straight into a Ruckus, but fortunately able to do so. Chrono Break are still in the fight. Frog Blender pulls out Whirlwind, trying to keep their team alive. Pulled out of the air. Ash gets shut down. King D Devil in their Ancient Rage is battering everybody down. Looks for the air shots to Michaela. Goldax falls to Asolino. Double kill for Asolino. Will they find a triple? Sizzy, the last one left standing here. Triple kill for Asolino. Bomb King goes home with 3, and straight out of casuals push the payload through for a 2-0 in 4:45. And now comes that all-important mark, folks. Let's go ahead and check out the net worth chart. And this is where we're going to see Chrono Break start to suffer. It's Ryan. Well, they are over the credit mark. They do have 693 in hand, it looks like. So they're able to get their Tier 2 offensive itemization online. But you can see it's the luxury items which are starting to come through for this team straight out of casuals now. Asolino straight into the Wrecker 2. King D Devil getting a resilience online as well as Megiddo, and I really like this. Whilst it won't affect the duration of Nullify, it's going to have a big impact on the knockbacks that are able to be output by Chrono Break here. Musics with their Hyper Beam, Sizzy with their Disengage. It's Ryan who's running Percussion 2 in their Ash loadout, who has an increased the knockback of Kinetic Burst. They're all going to start becoming less and less effective versus these frontline champions. And playing Makoa, playing Ruckus, these are frontline champions that want to be brawling out. They want to be up in the face of their opposition, and they want to be, well, taking damage and dealing out damage. Especially Makoa and Ancient Rage, if you're unable to get close to the enemy team and deal your melee strikes because you're being forced away by all the knockbacks on the side of Chrono Break, it's going to be a very difficult situation for King D Devil to deal with. Resilience is going to mitigate the vast majority of that and only leave them vulnerable to Nullify. Now, whilst we do get this pause resolved, folks, we are going to be heading through to a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment with the game continuing. This is game number 2 of Straight Outta Casuals versus Chrono Break. And Straight Outta Casuals are currently up 1-0. And we are back, champions. Still game 2. The pause has been resolved. Straight Outta Casuals, well, they're leading 2-0 currently on the scoreboard as we do get into this game. And it's looking very, very good for them as they continue with their ultimates in hand. But taking a lot of poke initially is Asolino and Makoa. They're going to be forced completely out of this. King D Devil, though, is still playing very aggressively here, looking for Dredge Anchor plays. Has it off cooldown, but the jump inaccuracy on Dredge Anchor means that they miss the shot onto Makoa. They'll be forced to withdraw here as Ash is starting to go straight into the back line. It's Ryan brawling out with many. No, caught by Hexafire. Ruckus rips straight through them. Megiddo finds one. Can't find a second follow-up kill, but a great Dredge Anchor to pull onto Drokos from the air. Nets King D Devil a kill, and this is advantage to Straight Outta Casuals currently with Sizzy scouting around from behind the enemy team. Looking for some poke here, looking to just keep their team in the fight as somehow Chrono Break are staying on the objective and they are able to keep themselves in the mix. Through time and space, not going to find much purchase there. Dragon Punch is ready, as well as the Torvald ultimate Hyper Beam, but Sunday Wikono sets Diced Apples they throw up. the Dread Serpent. Dragon Punch comes through, and nothing really is achieved so far, as even though Michaela picked up 2, Diced Apples ends their spree. Still, Megiddo retreats, trying to box out 1 versus 3, not something which really can happen at this stage of the game. Dodge roll forwards is Cassie. It's Ryan getting credit for that kill, and Sizzy's now looking for zone. Chrono Break, they have full comeback mechanic on their side. They are looking to use it to the best of their advantage, and with that in mind, Chrono Break, they gain a capture. Hyper Beam is used by Torvald. That's an easy comeback, equalized to at least 1 point for the side of Chrono Break. Music's doing a good job of keeping Sizzy alive throughout the duration of that last fight. Now it's setting up on this corner push, hiding behind the payload card a little bit to try and obscure the damage coming through from Frogblender's axes. That's positioning which I do like. Be able to consistently throw out damage and lock off these angles. They only deal 200 a shot, these new projectiles of Torvald, but you stand in a line of fire of Torvald for long enough, you're still going to end up feeling the hurt. You can see that even Bomb King is a little fearful about really poking out into line of sight of them. Goes in deep though, throws out Grumpy Bomb, tries to stay alive, but Ash shuts them down. It's Ryan is taken out in response. E6 answering back with a kill of their own. Lands some poke straight towards Frogblender. Gassy diving in deep, trying to find the damage here. Busy, won't get it. Will retreat for the time being. 1598 health. Needs to be careful they don't get hit by an axe from maybe the Grover, who'll bring their health down low. Notices Makoa looking for a peripheral flank and retreats in the meantime. This is the opportunity for Chrono Break to go for conversion here. They've got a lot of ultimates online. Goldex is pulled into danger. Out comes Whirlwind from Grover as well to try and keep their team alive. Hyper Beam might have been used just then. No, Torvald has that off cooldown. I thought I saw the shots come through the trails, but it just doesn't matter. That's a full shutdown from straight out of casuals. Double kill for Megiddo. That's an easy defense so far with 1 minute and 4 seconds left on the clock. Chrono Break did get very close to conversion. I don't like the fact that Dragon Punch was actually used in that engagement. It seems like throughout the duration of this fight, Michaela and this game has been not using those to the best of their ability. They haven't found a single kill with them just yet. And whilst it is a risky tool in your kit that can potentially best be used to zone, of course, if you go into Dragon Punch and you're anywhere near Makoa, when you end that, you're immediately going to get hooked and pulled in to your likely doom and demise, even with a protection bubble from Torvald. I feel that maybe they could be used slightly better to zone out the ruckus in key moments when there's going to be follow-up from the team. Chrono Break knows that if Dragon Punch is used here, their Drogos is likely going to perish, and therefore it should be used to maybe start off a fight, get the big initial engagement, the initiation which will turn things around. But that should still be around 4. In terms of the ultimates online, it's Ryan does end up using their ultimate to get back onto the map there. Gets a shutdown onto King D Devil, immunes the stun from the Grumpy Bomb with their battering ram legendary, and the shoulder bash charge looks to deal damage onto the backline here. Megiddo falls to It's Ryan. Michaela takes out Diced Apples. Esselino answers back with just 1. Frogblender tries to engage, but shut down by Sizzy midair. Chrono Break pushed successfully. Really good play from the team who's behind in this game, and they tie things up 2-2 at 9 minutes and 35 seconds in. Now that credit differential has really started to even out here, folks. It has started to go more towards favoring Chrono Break once again. They've got their Cauterized 3 online, straight out of casuals. They're matching that across the board with the exception of Megiddo, but straight out of casuals are more pressed to get their luxury item online now. They're looking for maybe 1 Chronos on Megiddo, for example, but we're not seeing a big increase into the amount of resilience. We're not seeing that lead really accelerate here. And Chrono Break, able to keep that margin to a minimum, is going to be so important for allowing them to stay consistently in this game. Throughout the duration, we said that Michaela, maybe their Dragon Punch has been a little off point, but as you take a look at the damage charts here, 96,000, quickly followed up by Cassie. Michaela is certainly doing work for their team, and that was a huge salvo, which dropped a lot of damage in towards the enemy. Through comes Megiddo there on Ruckus, trying to engage maybe with a Hexafire, following that ultimate, the Dread Serpent from Maldamba, but it just didn't pick up anything as Dragon Punch was actually used to stop Michaela from taking Grumpy Bomb CC. Pulled into danger though, King D Devil answers back, and Chrono Break, despite taking an early fight win, have got no time on the objective. Frogblender finds 1, maybe even picking up a second. No, goes to Esselino there, and that is a cleanup for straight out of casuals, with even It's Ryan with their shoulder bash, battering ram legendary being forced out of the mix. Heading up to zone, Frogblender looks for long distance damage. Played game 1 on Stonekeeper's Charlene, now playing game 2 as Grover seems to be perfectly at home on these sniper style champions. Fire Spit has been thrown out by Megiddo, does a bit of damage towards Makoa. Springers come, they say, trying to keep King D Devil alive, and actually no Cauterize was applied just then. That's huge. Makoa stays alive, manages to get the Dredge Anchor off onto Torvald, who's mid-Hyper Beam as well, shutting them down entirely. Straight out of Casuals have 99% on capture. Nobody from Chrono Break has been able to contest up until Sissy at this point, but Frogblender takes them down, gets a double kill as Goldex perishes as well. They say, no, the tree has its roots on this objective. You can't get us out of here. Straight into Casuals, now leading 3-2. Great play from the red team. Chrono Break, they're on the back foot, and it's Ryan again. Well, they managed to knock King D Devil off the map after almost being pulled off by Dredge Anchor, but these are very, very selfish ultimates we're seeing come consistently out of them. Not what I do want to be seeing from a team who should be playing at the top level in this week's ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup Finals. Now Megiddo takes the peripheral this fight, looks to find an angle onto Michaela, gets an easy shutdown. Gogos get sent straight back to base. Has to be careful of Sissy's Cassie all the while. Certainly able to do a lot of damage throughout the duration of this game, but with King D Devil now leading the charge, looking for Dredge Anchor picks, onto maybe some of the squishy enemy backline, and following up right from behind, Frogblender here as well on Grover, able to do a serious amount of damage from a distance. Actually able to box out with Torvald quite effectively from range, was an impressive feat to say the least. It's a good look for Straight into Casuals to try and convert. Dragon Punch channeled in response to the Ancient Rage from Makoa, but no, going down mid-air to Megiddo. Michaela perishes. Dredge Anchor on a 5-second cooldown should spell the end of Ash's life here, as they now have ended up using their shoulder bash, but no, King D Devil, barely any health, just escapes under their shell shield. Nice move from Frogblender to go into them, keep them alive with Blossom's passive healing. Out comes the Dread Serpent as well. Cassie dives on him. Whirlwind keeps King D Devil topped off as well. And Bomb King goes in with King Bomb, looking for the plays. King D Devil picks up the double kill. Hexafire towards the end, straight out of Casuals. Well, that's a victory in game number 2 for them, and that momentum shows no sign of slowing. What a game that was, folks. You can see on the scoreboard that it was a lot less one-sided than we did end up having the previous game, but my goodness, that was still relatively one-sided. Even players like Michaela with 132,000 damage on Drogos went 8, 10, and 5. The eliminations simply weren't there for Chrono Break, and I've got to call it's Ryan out here. A lot of very selfish assert dominance ultimates to try and keep them on the map during payload pushes, and a lot of very inconsistent plays. 6-3, 13-3. Far too many deaths. A respectable damage score, certainly, but that would have been so much higher if they're able to just stay in the fight, or maybe it would have been still the same if they hadn't taken so many aggressive pushes. You know, pushing right into the face of Makoa, being forced to use their Battering Ram legendary charge to be able to immune the crowd control that would have otherwise killed them, meant that they couldn't re-engage when it was very, very necessary. And all the while, that prevents them from distracting the enemy team that was straight out of Casuals. It prevents Chrono Break from allowing Sissy to go free in the backline as Cassie and deal a lot more damage than they otherwise would have been doing, maybe matching Michaela. But all the while, I do want to shout out the really good drafting that came through this game from the team out of straight out of Casuals. The Grover pickup on this map worked like a treat. Esselino, 13, 4, and 17 on Bomb King. Not the highest damage score, but getting kills where it matters. And the coordinated ultimates as well that we saw coming through. One really neat aspect of the play that Straight Outta Casuals utilized was Dread Serpent into Whirlwind. And this is really important because Dread Serpent fears enemies that are hit by it. That's going to repel them and force them to run away. And in doing so, stop them from applying Cauterize to your team, which means that the major burst healing from Whirlwind will, well, still be effective. And that is pretty major. But we've got plenty more Paladins action yet to come for you champions. This was just game number 2. It's best of 5 set. So let's head straight through to our champion draft.
but here's the thing. What you thought we had never lasted. It was good at first, but eventually I could see between all the cracks, yeah. You did everything you could to have me. You did your best to make me yours. If I knew how all of this would turn out, but nobody knew. And now we done it, you. And now we done it, you. Baby, you. Baby. How can I say it so that you could understand? How can I tell you how stupid I felt? I can't believe that I thought we were in love when you were busy playing on my heartstrings. You did everything you could to have me. You did your best to make me yours. If I knew how all of this would turn out, but nobody knew. And now we done it, you. And now we done it, you. Baby, you. Baby, how could I let you in? I couldn't let you in. It's all so fast, you really got me. You. And now we done it, you. We done it, how 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 we done it. You did everything you could to have me. You did your best to make me yours. If I knew how all of this would turn out, but nobody knew. And now we done it, you. And now we done it, you. Baby, you.
Apologies for the delay there, champions, but we are now back. Map number 3 of Bright Marsh is underway, straight out of casuals. Well, another blue team. They're currently up 2 games in the best of 5 set. Chrono Break, with none to the name so far, need to pull themselves back into things, but let's check out the lineups as, well, straight out of casuals lead with King D Devil on Battering Ram, Ash, Frog Blender on Desert Shadow, Charlene, Esselino on Wormjets, Drogos, Magito on Direct Current, Torvald, Dice Dapples, Celestial Touch for the Genos. Goldex this time for Chrono Break, stripping away Spirit's Chosen Maldamba. It's Ryan on Air Assault, Ruckus, Michaela, Excel on Grumpy Bomb, Bomb King, Sizzy on Exaction, Cassie and Musics, Scorch, Fernando. Initial itemization quite balanced. Dice Dapple's not actually going ahead and picking up an item there. Might have been a bit of a mistake coming through, but we'll have to see. I'm especially excited to see how this Fernando will come into play. Musics with Scorch, looking to initially burn down some damage, burn down the shield of their opponent, but no. Straight to the casuals, pick up First Blood. Esselino trying to get around the back of the map, looking for a flank this time. Frog Blender with 1 kill to the name, Ghosts and Poke. Looks for Sizzy in the back line, who was putting some pressure on Ash here. Has Impaler Arrow ready, narrowly missing the line of sight. Big Impaler comes through, doesn't land a stun. Shield up for Fernando. Big poke on a Frog Blender though, and King D Devil takes over with some pressure towards Cassie. As we did see very poked out there, Shaolin almost perished. Ryan on the high grounds tries to engage, finds Magito straight up, Nullify comes through. It's Ryan in a lot of trouble here, narrowly escaping with her life, gets an emitter shield online, but how long will it last? Well, not very long at all as Magito does chase them down, but not after Sizzy's picked up a double kill on Cassie. Behind the back of the map, has Scout available now already at just 1 minute and 50 seconds into this game. Lands 1 poke shot. Oh my goodness, the disengage and the air shot straight onto Genos, takes him out of the fight. Musics evaporates Esselino as well. And that's a very good look currently for Chrono Break in round 1 of this game number 3. 75% and rising on the objective, showing no sign of that slowing down. High ground positioning goes through to Ruckus here. It's Ryan looking to maybe reload and dish out some more damage. Go back towards their team as coming through. A contest is happening from King D Devil, but this is such a good look right now for Chrono Break. They've got Fernando locking off an avenue of entry. Cassie's coming around from behind, finds and shuts down Frog Blender as well. Even though overtime is ticking though, even though Magito managed to get back onto the objective, the damage keeps on coming. All enemies of Straight Outta Casuals have been forced off. Chrono Break are taking this game in their stride. Magito might escape for now, and actually Cassie could have gone into a bad position here as Sizzy does get nullified, but still able to fire for the time being. Magito is being forced out, and, well, on a rampage 5 in a row, Chrono Break have captured the first payload of this game, and now lead 1-0. Straight out of casuals, you got to ask what happened there. They were looking so dominating in previous games. They got the first kill, the Charlene opener there. They haven't been able to find anything since, and it's a bit curious as to why. Retreating a little bit, Sizzy will take, of course, some healing from Goldex before re-engaging towards the fight. Dodgeball keeps them nimble out of the way of the fire spit coming through from Drogo's King D Devil. Doesn't expect the bonus damage exaction shot either. And quickly retreats, is forcing out the frontline. Music's now just waiting for a Mending Spirits, a heal round out of combat. Regen maybe coming through as well to keep them topped off, but allowing their team to buy space for the payload to continue advancing. Big knockback, kinetic burst came through there from King D Devil. Shoulder bash was actually blocked out. Shield is up, so Music's in a lot of trouble here. Shield could come down. No, King D Devil goes into their assert dominance around the objective. Dragon Punch channeled by Ercelino takes out Music's on Fernando, equalizing this push a little bit, taking the wind out of the sails of Chrono Break, who are otherwise storming forwards in this game, showing no signs of slowing. And with that in mind, 1 minute and 10 seconds left in this payload push. Chrono Break, do you have the opportunity to retreat here and look for a re-engagement opportunity to get back into the fight? But still, that's going to be difficult if they're continually pressured out by Ercelino as they have been. Somebody has to find a way to deal with this Drogo as Dread Serpent comes through. Goldex starting the fight off here, lands a lot of damage onto Maldan, but the air shots as well bring Drogos down to a sliver of life. And Sizzy and It's Ryan pick up 2 of their own. It's Ryan with another kill, a double after a Hexafire, and Sizzy holding the peripheral. This fight still yet to perish, goes in deep, looking for damage on a Charlene. Frogblender's trying to outbox him here, but Michaela evens the fight out and then says, no, you know what, a 1v1? We'll make this a 2v1. And we're just going to straight up win. 30 seconds remaining. The payload 90% towards conversion here. Everybody being trapped in their spawn from straight out of casuals. To the high ground goes It's Ryan looking for dismounts as soon as they can. This is going to be a close one, folks. Grumpy Bomb not available, but King Bomb is ready. Your sight fails, you said Charlene. They go in and try and defend, but power overwhelming. Torvald gets the Hyper Beam conversion. Or doesn't even get it off, no. They would die. The Hyper Beam wasn't available. And Chrono Break able to convert on the back of it. That seems a little bit peculiar there. Frogblander was relying on Torvald to be able to contest in that moment. Was relying on their front line to be able to hold the objective whilst they went around the outside of the fight in Heat Haze and try to look for some kills. And maybe that was a misplay. Maybe Frogblander needed to hold the objective down as Charlene to stop it from going through. Far from over, folks. The offensive itemization is all matched out. And of course, you've got to remember that straight out of casuals, they're up 2 games in this set so far, but Chrono Break now 2-0, looking very, very strong. We'll have to see if that is a trend which is maintained as we head into the second round of this game. The player I think you need to keep your eyes on here right now is Sizzy. On 11 streak is Cassie. If you look at the KDAs, you see that Sizzy's actually 7-0-4, hasn't died once. Dodge rolls in very aggressively, finds blast shot damage towards King D Devil. Got to watch out for Frogblander here, but a couple of quick poke shots from them will keep them very nimble. And I love Sizzy's approach as well to how they're playing this angle. They're not utilizing dodge roll back and forth to keep on dealing the bonus exaction damage. Just happy to deal 650 over and over again, saving dodge roll for an escape. It's very effective at buying space for Chrono Break, who are now upwards of 45% on the objective. Soon to be 50 as well. Over the halfway mark without comeback mechanic. It's a good look for CB as they try to force straight out of casuals out of the fight. Dodge roll keeps Sizzy nimble. Goldex retreating there, throws out a Mending Spirits and Gore towards the objective. Damage numbers will help reveal enemies for their team. But 1 member down on Chrono Break. They're going to have to rely on maybe some ultimates to re-engage here. The one that I'm looking towards is Michaela and King Bomb. And see them looking for the peripheral play, goes into the King Bomb, straight up the center, through the objective, avoids through time and space, detonates for 1, immediately takes down Frogblander, who I don't think they saw. It's Ryan cleans up Diced Apples off the back of that as well, and Ash does manage to channel their shoulder bash, does manage to channel their assert dominance, excuse me, but no, the Poppy Bomb plays come through from Michaela, throw King D Devil out of their assert dominance, and they get shut down by It's Ryan. Beautiful Bomb King play there to close things out. Chrono Break up 3-0. At 7 minutes and 5 seconds. What a difference this team is exhibiting in their gameplay from previous rounds. And as Frogblander gets chewed through by Sizzy's Cassie, and target is locked, Scout activated again. Chrono Break are wasting no time. They're keeping their ultimates up. They want to maintain their momentum here, and they want to make sure that straight out of casuals have no chance to formulate a defense and have no chance to sustain themselves in this fight. Of course, losing Ruckus in that engagement after Hexafire was used very early on. Not necessarily the best of choices for Chrono Break, but it bought time and it brought space, and the payload is now over 50% of its way through this push. Ruckus is back. It is a 5v5 all-out brawl again, and whilst the ultimate advantage currently favors straight out of casuals, look to Goldex here for a potential initiation if they see the opportunity to use Dread Serpent. They are having to heavily pocket Musics here, and Musics does end up falling, and a bit of an unfortunate situation, but all the while, Chrono Break maintaining their positioning, maintaining their pressure. Frogblend now takes the peripheral. Guido and Torvald going to be forced to recharge in just a moment, as they will need to try and lock off some of this peripheral angle, as there are 3 grouped up behind that big Fernando shield on the left-hand side of this map, respectively. But still, a lot of area damage comes through, a lot of area denial as Fire Spit gets thrown through the window, and Ash's flat cannon just throws the damage. Oh, beautiful Hyper Beam spot, though, almost throws enemies off the map, but that was straight onto an aerial assault ruckus. It's Ryan just says, no, I'm here to stay, I'm not going anywhere. And now there's the opportunity for the comeback play. Chrono Break know that one ultimate is down already. They're looking to push their advantage. Again, keep your eyes on Goldex here. Maldamba has the opportunity with their Dread Serpent to really start pushing this through. And as we get closer towards conversion, as we line up, currently, folks, to 3 to 4, there is the opportunity for this one to go through. Indie Devil channels Shoulder Bash to the backline. Assert Dominance has been activated as well. Sizzy does reapproach as Cassie, and this fight that was taking around, that was happening around Ash, well, it's completely ignored. Michaela picked up 1 kill. Goldex solo ults Frogblender to make sure that they stay alive, and now going in deep is Michaela with the King Bomb, trying to find Genos on the outside of the map, gets the damage, 2 quick sticks, Dice Apple falls, and now straight out of casuals, have absolutely nothing left in terms of sustain. Fernando activates Immortal. Nobody's going to go down to the Dragon Punch, which is taken out mid-air by Sizzy, and all the while on the outside of the map, Michaela's just doing so much damage here. Shoulder Bash channeled where it shouldn't have been, away from the payload. The opportunity for the push comes through. Chrono Break gain a comeback victory, and they keep themselves in this set, folks. And that's the Chrono Break that we've been expecting all this time. That is the Chrono Break that we have been waiting to see, and they just haven't been showing up until now here on Brightmarsh. And that is promising. It shows that they are down, but not out, and there is real comeback potential as we do get ready for game number 4 of this set. Because, hey, we're going to at least 4 folks. Get onto what map that is in just a moment. As far as the scoreboard breakdown goes, I mean, highlight players this game, absolutely Sizzy and Michaela, working so well in conjunction as a damage duo. Look at the synergy between these two. 9, 1, and 8. Identical slash lines. 67,000 damage. Less than or just over 300 separating them. That is absolutely remarkable. That is just phenomenal to see. These 2 players did absolute work this game. But we can't give a really massive round of applause to Goldex either. I mean, 2-0 and 6 on a slash line for Maldamba. Few deaths, yes, that's certainly expected from most support players, but 124,000 healing. Out-healing the Celestial Touch Genos. Magnificent work from all players involved on this team, and I can't wait to see how that continues, as we will be heading through to, well, a different kind of map coming up next. You can see that up on your screen right now. We're going from Brightmarsh, we're going from this beautiful sort of homeland pip, I guess we could say, aesthetic with a lot of bright colors, to somewhere a little bit different. The more green and blue muted tones of the map that is Fish Market. We'll have that game up on your screens in just a second, folks. And the champion draft is almost ready as well, so certainly stay tuned for that as we do get ready to bring you that on your screens. In the meantime, I want you to let me know how you think this game is going to pan out. Fish Market game, we've seen so much Torvald throughout the entire duration here, not banned out once. Is Fish Market the map where Torvald ban does actually start to come through for these players? Is that something which they want to eliminate the possibility of even being on their screens because it has been so devastating throughout the entire duration of these games, or are they not so bothered about it here? Will we see Maeve come out to play? One thing is for sure, we're going to have to wait and see to find out as the champion draft is ready, folks. So once again, let's head straight Game 3 is ready then, champions. And it does appear that we are back. There should be audio for this now. We'll have to see exactly what's going on with the draft phase in just a moment. But regardless, we do have our game on screen and everything is working. Let's go ahead and check out, of course, the draft and check out the champions as well. As we see for the side of Chrono Break, Goldex is running Celestial Touch Genos, Music's on Battering Ram Ash, Sizzy on Exaction, Cassie, Ryan on Scorch, Fernando with the Fireball, Artful Dodger, Maeve for Michaela. Rounding things out, straight out the casuals have Diced Apples on Spirit's Chosen Maldumba, Architectonics Barrack for Megiddo here, likely to counter the Maeve, Frog Blunder with Desert Shadow Charlene, Esselino on Accelerant Bomb King, and King D Devil on the Aerial Assault Ruckus. Straight to the objective, potentially will be going, as we do see on there momentarily, the Bomb King trying to zone out for the time being. Maeve comes around the outside, Chrono Break looking for some damage. It's Ryan picks up first blood onto Frog Blender there. It's a good look so far. On the objective, Megiddo is trying to get set up as Barrack, but being brought very low. Maeve prowls in behind them, looks for the damage, and finds the shot as Chrono Break start this game off with a few very early kills. And there we go, Diced Apples falling as well. A really good look for the team in blue. Chrono Break coming out strong. Now, initial kills did go in the favor of Straight Outta Casuals. They were able to get 48% on the objective, but Chrono Break now are zoning so magnificently. There's no real chance for anybody to get back towards the map, as we do appear to run into some technical difficulties there, folks. As a result, we'll be cutting back to our menu screen, and we'll be back in just a second as Genos takes a trip across the ocean. And Genos is back. They took a flight on Torvald Airlines, I think, is the way that we're going to describe that. They are back in the mix now on the objective. Goldex holding things down for their team as Chrono Break do capture the first objective of game number 4, keeping themselves in the mix and now looking for damage towards the backline. Michaela brought very, very low, healing up with their Prowl, if I'm not mistaken. You can see in their loadout, they are actually using only walk it off once, so minimal healing coming through there, really relying on Genos to do a lot more of that. Going in for a lot more 9 lives effectiveness as it is, but Sizzy now and Cassie spots on the high ground. Ruckus gets a disengage to force them off out of their position, and Dodge rolls forwards. Maybe looking to lock off the angle versus Charlene, who they did see hang around the peripheral of this fight. Dodge rolling forwards, there is the opportunity for them to close out a kill on the King D Devil, who's brawling out with Music's. Narrowly missing the blast shot combo there, so withdrawal was just in enough time, but now Maeve takes over. Michaela looks for damage. King D Devil has been caught out. A mid shield comes up. Cassie and Maeve have the damage in tandem. They do indeed. The payload push continues. So on the outside of this fight, Esselino gets brought very, very low. Michaela prowls in towards the kill. Waits for Grumpy to go down, making sure to keep themselves nimble with Pounce to ensure that there is no chance of anybody closing out a kill onto them. And now Sizzy finds one. It's Ryan finds a second. And with 1 minute and 20 seconds left on this payload push, no sign of it slowing down. This is an absolutely fantastic push from Chrono Break, and it's going to go in for free. There's nobody around to defend. I'm confused as to what happened there. That was so one-sided. In fact, so one-sided that I think we're going to have to put up the net worth charts to demonstrate exactly how much. Should we have a quick look at that? Highest on the team in the game at 1360 is Genos. Goldex spending so much time in proximity to the payload, but 688 the lowest in game. Straight out of Casuals spent no time being able to play the objective. They spent no time established on the point despite drafting a Barak who is meant to provide them with the ability to do so. Even with no AoE damage on the side of Chrono Break in a big form, there's no Drogos with a big fire spit clear, there's no Grumpy Bomb to provide zoning. Chrono Break are dismantling Straight Out of Casual's draft here just with their individual gameplay, and now with the ultimates online, you can see that Barak didn't even get their Dome Shield charged by the end of that first round. Straight Out of Casuals hold everything in the palm of their hand here for this next game, and they're looking to convert with it. Round from behind, Fernando comes. The Scorch Fireball doesn't connect onto anybody. Up in the air, King D Devil spots them out and is now trying to box out with them and brawl out. And at last, Megiddo is able to charge up their Dome Shield. May says goodnight, but Ercelino says no and denies him the opportunity. King D Devil tries to stay alive. The incoming damage is good. Froglander picks up one onto It's Ryan. Looks for a second kill on the Goldex here as well, but enemies behind us, he says, got to be careful, and does retreat momentarily as the rest of their team start taking over. Ercelino throws out some sticky bombs, trying to find the damage on the Goldex in the backline of this fight, but Genos is too wiggly and gets away for free. Delawin keeping them mobile. Meanwhile, Michaela, though, does find the single kill into Ercelino, and the ultimate, which we thought we heard come off earlier, wasn't actually used, and now Midnight, being used by Maeve, allows Michaela to pick up one kill into Megito, and looks for a second one. King D Devil on the high ground is a perfect target for the long-range daggers here, thrown out in an arc as they start healing up with their prowl momentarily. Gets alive and healing up even more so with the Artful Dodger Legendary. Michaela takes the fight back for their team, and Chrono Break capture a second objective in a row, now looking for conversion onto further kills, and well, the payload itself. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on this push, having only just begun. Chrono Break are poised in such a good position to just run away with the game, and oh, Ercelino almost disengaged off the map there. Could have been an easy kill for Sizzy if they managed to use that instead of firing off their basic shot. Poppy Bomb kept him alive momentarily, but Frog Blender sits directly in the path of Akasi, who has their number, says, call me later, you'll be going to back to base before you even have the chance to fire any more of that planted. And now with Music's pushing the peripheral of this fight, Grumpy Bomb, I don't think that's going to stop them. A couple of stickies do land around, and Music's gets brought down to just 154 health, but oh my goodness, Celestial Touch Genos in combination with Battering Ram, in combination with only a cauterized one on the enemy team is enough to keep Music's alive. That's incredible timing from Goldex. That is perfect coordination of the Battering Ram shoulder bash channel, as well as the heal coming through. This is perfect play from Chrono Break, and Straight Out of Casuals have no way to respond. Shaolin does go into Heat Haze, trying to keep the dream alive. In comes as well Straight Out of Casuals, despite the Midnight, channeling the King Bomb, looking for damage onto Michaela, but Michaela cancels out the crowd control with Artful Dodger, that legendary, and just converts it through. Chrono Break push it in. 4-0, no sign of contest. That is incredible. And that is such a turnaround play, folks, from what we saw in the first two games. This almost, for all intents and purposes, a completely different Chrono Break. I mean, that was a 4-0, 2 maps in a row. First Bright Marsh, and now they've taken a 4-0 on another map. And of course, that map being Fish Market. This is unbelievable. Maybe it's something to do with the champion draft. The Maeve worked out magnificently. 9-1-8, hard to shut down, second highest damage in the game. Michaela proving that they can potentially go toe-to-toe with players such as Skozas, who have built Maeve a formidable reputation within the European scene. Sissy, again, highest damage in the game. 0 deaths for Goldex, 0 deaths for Musix, despite being so close to the edge throughout the duration of that game. And in certain clutch situations with less than 200 health, you can see that the long-term coordination between these players is absolutely magnificent and really lends them to stand in a powerful position as they get ready to push this through potentially in Game 5 and take themselves a victory in advance. Straight Out of Casuals did look like the favorites for this set after their first 2 games, but will that be the case moving forwards? Well, we'll have to find out. Of course, on your screen right now is the map draft once again. We've gone from Stonekeep to Frog Isle to Bright Marsh to Fish Market, and now we're going all the way round to Ice Mines, folks. This is the quintessential, oh dear, we're stalled out. We need the game which we can potentially go 3-3 and win on a single team fight in the last push map. Whether it was selected by Chrono Break, it looks like this was actually selected by Straight Outta Casuals. Maybe they're feeling the heat a little bit, and maybe they want the opportunity to buy themselves some time and bring themselves back into this game. Regardless, the champion draft, everybody is ready. We'll have to see if we do have some audio for that coming through this time around, as that would be rather pleasant. And if there are any issues, we'll take you back to a short break, get those resolved, and bring you back into it. But otherwise, folks, champions of the realm, with any luck, on your screens right now will be, of course, the champion draft for the map of Ice Mine. Welcome back, champions, to game number 4 of this best of 5 set, though. Excuse me, game number 5 of this best of 5 set. The final map here of Ice Mines between Straight Outta Casuals and Chrono Break. All tied up 2-2. We're aware that there were some audio issues in that drafting section. We'll get those resolved between sets, okay? In the meantime, let's go ahead and break down once again our champions and legendaries for these two teams. For Straight Outta Casuals, they're leading with Diced Apples and Celestial Touch Genos. Selino, yet to select their legendary for Barret. We'll have to see if that's Tinkering or the Architectonics we saw last game. Megiddo with Aerial Assault, Ruckus, Exaction, Cassie for Frogbender, Pluck, Makoa for King D Devil. The other side of things, it is, of course, Chrono Break once again. Sizzy running Combustible Drogo, Scorch Fernando for its Ryan, Michaela, Artful Dodger Maeve, Goldex with Spirit's Chosen Maldamba, and Music's on Direct Current Torvald was the Tinker and Barrack that we did indeed see coming through. Selino trying to get straight towards the objective here. Will leave their backline open. It's Ryan dives straight on in. Selino does retreat throughout the barricade, and this buys a lot of well, zoning potentially for that team, but Michaela's already picked up a double. They're now looking for a triple kill as Frogblander on the high ground as Cassie is in so much trouble here. Pounce not available for another 3 seconds. One more dagger will do it, but Sizzy picks up a direct rocket impact for that kill. Free streak for Chrono breaks Maeve. Maybe for this team, the Maeve was the answer. Now heading out heavily for some zone. Makoa is available. King D Devil is on the high ground. Nobody wants to step close enough to really get picked off here. And as you see, it's Ryan going a little bit too deep. They do get plucked in. Fall to Megiddo, but it's all in good faith of the zoning which comes from this team. All the while, on the objective, Goldex has been capturing for their team. And that's the first payload actually going in favor of Chrono Break. 2 minutes and 17 left on this push. Maeve takes the high ground, potentially looking for an opportunity to get this one through. If they can maybe find the angle here to throw out their daggers, break down some shields, and there we saw 900 straight onto Makoa. Good night, she says, dives in for Cassie, has the Artful Dodge reset available with their cooldown and finds the double daggers on a Froglander for 1 kill. Now looking for a second one, potentially the backline of this fight as Esselino has no idea that Maeve is here. Michaela could, of course, use their pounce to be able to relocate to the high ground. Potentially is going to leave them in a very good position to drop down damage from above. Fire spit down towards Esselino, 500, and then the damage over time knocks them back. Musics gets credit for this kill. Folks, this is Ice Mines. The push is going so quickly. The straight out of casuals performance, which you saw earlier in this set, has gone completely. Now, Michaela is on a rampage 6 streak. Has to be very careful of Cassie. Oh, Froglander does have their number. Gets 1 single kill, but it's Ryan activates on the objective Immortal to try and keep themselves alive. Shield up, blocking a lot of incoming damage, finally falling to Esselino. There is the opportunity for turnaround here, and even as Music throws out shots as Torvald, they're getting heavily poked out by Froglander, and the rest of the blue team comes into play. The Devil on the high ground looks for some damage towards Musics, towards as Froglander continues to dive on in and find the dodge roll cooldown resets, which keep them in this fight. After being poked out heavily, they'll elect us to maybe hold this initial choke point here. The one of the 2 main choke points on the Ice Mines map where it is very easy to establish a defensive hold. The problem is they've got to deal with the incoming pressure from Drogos, who right now, Sizzy, is sitting close to the, well, at least in the top 4 members of the damage charts, and that'll absolutely be going higher if everybody stacks up for combustible fire spits. And potentially this Maeve as well, who now on the high ground of the map is looking for a direct line of damage onto Megito, who's been nullified and can't advance out of there. Michaela looks to maybe shut off King D Devil, who tries to get away from the fight. Sizzy shuts them down with 1. Looks for follow-up damage on towards Esselino, taking out the turrets all the way to really clear the area from Maeve. And now Michaela's finding double daggers from a distance up here on the high ground. Dragon Punches come through. Hexafire as well, but Michaela stays alive. It's Ryan gets a shutdown kill on towards Ruckus. Froglander, 1 more dagger will do it. Michaela finds the shot, and will they be able to convert this one through? It's so close, and Musics has Hexafire available as well. Esselino steps outside of that dome shield, gets caught by the ultimate from Torvald, and Chrono Break push it through for a 2-0 in under 5 minutes. Folks, once again, this is Ice Mines. This is not meant to happen. Goodness gracious me. What just a stellar performance from Chrono Break here so far. I can't wait to see how this does keep on continuing as we do get ready for the second round. Itemization between these 2 teams, well, Chrono Break, they're starting to stack up the cauterized 2s. They've got 1 of those on Michaela and 1 of those on Musics as well. Sizzy, Rakatsu is going to put them in a very favorable position to be able to break down the shields, which King D Devil and Megiddo put up. And everybody who's familiar with Paladins knows that when we're looking at the shield health of something like a shell shield as well as an emitter from Ruckus, it's not the most significant, which is really important here. As a result, expect those to be broken down very quickly, and Megiddo and King D Devil, their vulnerable shell, left exposed. Music begins by locking off the angle. High ground, Sizzy has the opportunity to throw out a big salvo. Could have used this fire spit if it was off cooldown to maybe knock Makoa off the edge, and Makoa are unable to get their Ancient Rage off in time. Completely opens up this payload capture for the red team of Chrono Break here. Froglander's poked out significantly, catches the damage from Sizzy as the rocket comes through and gets a direct hit. Megiddo brought so very low here as well, as Michaela barely escapes within a sliver of health. And the front line begins to push out as It's Ryan has no fear, throws out fireballs, has their shield available in 6 seconds to keep the team in this fight. In goes Drogos trying to find the damage, and you can see just that they were able to, in fact, find the Dragon Punch conversion. Under 200 health available for It's Ryan towards the end there, but support coming through from their team, and again, Chrono Break capture for a 2nd time in a row. I mean, this looks like a game that's straight out of casuals, folks. This looks like a game where straight out of casuals have no communication. They have no coordination. They're unable to find anything in this game as they are being torn apart at their seams. They're sitting so low on the damage charts. Only Maldumba from Chrono Break, which is expected, sitting underneath 4 members of Chrono Break. This is devastating play, and it's going to keep on continuing as potentially we're going to see more kills come through. Of course, Maeve activating Midnights looks to open up the opportunity for this fight to continue. There was a couple of daggers directly into a wall there. Not great Maeve positioning from Michaela, maybe misjudging the throw time of their team. Tries to find some damage towards Diced Apples with that double jump to elevate them just to where they need to be. Oh, gets 900, a Frog Blender on Cassie, forcing him a bit out of the fight, and at last, oh, not again. King D Devil, as you hear the voice line, you challenge Makoa come through, immediately perishes and doesn't have the time for Ancient Rage to even be activated. Close to conversion once again. Watch out for Megiddo. Hexafire is activated on the objective, but Musics is sitting here and Hyper Beam is available. King D Devil has the ultimate here, but it just doesn't matter as Hyper Beam throws everybody away, and Chrono Break managed to convert for a 4-0 victory on Ice Mines? Now that is something that we don't get to say often, folks. That is something highly unusual. And with that in mind, you can see the scoreboard available on your screen right here. Just complete and utter one-sided devastation. Great play from champions like Cassie, Frog Blender picking up them at 3, 5, and 2. Their slash line 37,000 damage, but massive deficits coming from the front line, for example, on the side of Straight Outta Casuals. The lack of coordination didn't come in as well, and taking advantage of that, Michaela with a Maeve pick made good use of Midnight to ensure that the enemy team was disrupted wherever possible. Phenomenal performance, something that I cannot wait to see continue, folks. And with that in mind, because we have a couple of technical difficulties, we're going to be telling you that first and foremost, the next set coming up after this will be Gangstars versus B5. You can check out that other side of the semifinals momentarily, but due to the audio problems we've had with our draft section so far, we're going to go ahead and take down the stream momentarily, put it back up in just a couple of minutes once we've got everything resolved. I'll let you know in Twitch chat, and I'll let you know on YouTube exactly when that has been resolved. And otherwise, we'll see you back for the second set of the semifinals, Gangstars versus B5, in just a moment.